Hi, this is the new normal. I'm in the studio in Weed, Siskiyou Media Council, and I'm reminding all of you to have as many masks as you can in your car, in your pocket, so that you always have one to put on, because this is the new normal. Now today my show is Hello Neighbor. So I can't have a show without talking about COVID, but I promise I'm not going to spend the whole show talking about COVID. I want to acknowledge and recognize the COS instructors that have summer classes that are credit, no credit for sewing. And they've been making masks for Fairchild up in Wairika and for the Mercy Hospital nurses and staff. And they did get their the proper mask design. And the teachers' names, I want to give them credit, is Kathy Besk and also Susie Clark, a director of non-credit courses. So they sewed fast masks along with 87-year-old mother, Susie Clark said, and they delivered 43 to Fairchild. And this was a couple weeks ago, so this is not new, but I realized that they right away jumped on, and this was Susie Clark, the director of non-credit courses, and also Susie Clark and Kathy Besk. So I want to give them a shout out. If you know them, give them acknowledgement for doing that. Now, I do know that I don't want to spend the whole show talking about COVID, but the state of California has now put out a notice that we should all wear masks when we're in public. And we're having a lot of trouble in Siskiyou. Mask resistance runs deep in Siskiyou County. And so I realized that people aren't clear how it makes a difference if they wear one. You know, some people think, oh, well, it'll keep me from getting it. And some people think, well, I'm not sick. But the truth is, the current science says that if we will all wear a mask, we can slow the transmission of this and we can flatten that curve, which in all the other countries and across the world, it's gone up and it's spiked and it's come back down. I don't know if you've seen those graphs. We are the only country that has not been able to slow this down or curb it. Yes, in New York, they've gotten it under control. But then with all of the beaches being open in Florida, Florida is now going off. And Texas, and all this reopening meant that people were out and about and they weren't using strict use of a mask. And so now it's really seriously being spread. Now, a lot of people say, but they might not get sick. Yes, it's true. 90% of the people will be fine. I don't want to spend the whole show on COVID, but I do want to talk to you about a couple things like Hello Neighbor. You're going to be seeing Neighbor with a mask. And we're all learning how to recognize a smile through the eyes. But with your neighbors, we need to pay attention to what's going on in our neighborhood, because you may need an elder that could use a trip to the store for toilet paper or something. Wink, toilet paper. And I just want to remind you to pay attention to those in your vicinity, because maybe one parent has gone back to work, and if both parents go back to work, what happens with childcare nowadays? And we don't know what's going to happen with school. So you might want to get together with your apartment house or your cul-de-sac where you live or on the street where you live, and maybe get together and see if you can have the kids play or maybe walk around the neighborhood safely, maybe if the kids wore masks, but get the kids together, because this is going to be hard to have a whole summer where kids are just looking at four walls and social media. because we all need to stand up and find a corner in the house and get our shoulders back and stand up straight. We need to breathe. Sitting at home, we're doing a lot of shallow breathing, and that's why they suggest working out in your home. You know, I find all these articles about how to exercise, what's the best way to do it. Have a routine, do something, and even if you don't work out for 45 minutes, you could have 3-minute, 15-minute, you know, or 4, 10-minute. In my house, when my boys moved out, they left a bar. And so I was kind of trying to get rid of this. So I've been doing like 10 at a time, pulling up my own weight instead of trying to lift a weight. Oh, thank you for putting that up. So anyway, you could use a can of soup if you don't have weights, but we've got to do something where we stand up and we get some exercise. So I want to remind you that you can get up and stand up and get a little bit more exercise than we've been getting for the last 3 months. I'm getting soft around the edges and I need to move more. So listen, some of the little things, the comments that I saw about all of us being in home for so long, you know, how is it affecting people's mental health? People are really feeling anxious because they don't know what's safe. And the one message that's so important that all of us need to take away every day, that there is something you can do, and that's wear a mask whenever you're going to be within 6 feet of people. That's all. It's such a benign request, which would help everybody. But what should you do if you feel anxious or stressed? First, recognize what you're feeling. It's really important to say, oh, I'm really stressing out, and acknowledge it. Sometimes exercise. Sometimes if you get up and just go work out, it'll just make you like stop being so pinpoint focused trying to solve a problem. All of us are trying to juggle accounts and stretch our dollars, and these are just tough times. Now, tough times never last, but tough people do. We all know that. So, you know, sometimes going into the kitchen and cooking will help people with stress. Or art. You know, if you have any kind of art, any kind of media, I don't care if it's drawing with a pencil or with color, or if you want to make something, all of us, you don't have to be a Picasso or a Rembrandt or something that's going to be sold. It could be just for fun. Like if all the neighbors wanted to get together and make something. Oh, now wait a minute. This is important. I want you to see these numbers and write them down. The first number is if you want to call and talk to your congressman or your representative, if you're feeling moved that something's important to you and you'd like to make a statement, the most important thing is when you call these numbers that you give them your zip code, because they want to know where in the country people are calling. The first number is the House of Representatives, where you can leave a message with your congressman or your senator. The second number is if you want to call direct into the White House. Now, generally they take a message, but every once in a while I've had somebody answer the phone. One of the things I've currently been concerned about, and you may have even seen this in your neighborhood, is that people are waiting in lines. And I'm concerned with the overview of the country of so many people waiting in lines for hours. Now, if you're waiting to vote for 6 hours, there's got to be a way to spread it out and increase the voting hours. There's got to be a way to spread it out if you're waiting for food resources. Why don't they have 10 lines across or something? This business of single file sitting in cars that are idling, whether with the heater on or with an air conditioner on for hours, it's not healthy. People are so needy. They either need to have a test or they need resources or they need to vote. We've got to find a way to delegate somebody to solve this problem. We can't spend months like this. I have called all those numbers and talked to my senators and my congressmen and my representatives, and I've said, please find a way to solve this. It's just something that there's gotta be a way. So write down these numbers, 202-224-3121, and just give them your state and they'll give you a representative, and you can ask questions. You know, this confusion over whether or not people should be a mask, in the state of California, we're asking everyone wear one when you go out. So remember that you can take time out to turn off that social media and step away from it and that might help your breathing return to normal. Now, when I talk to you about stepping away from social media, I want to remind you, I do this often. I like to remind you that we are living in a technical world, and you need to save your data, save your phone numbers, save your pictures. It's so important to remember that phone can get damaged. And I think maybe you've had that happen where you've dropped it in a puddle of water, or you've dropped it and it's gotten a cracked screen. One of my phones is so cracked that you can't even choose something. So I had to get another phone. My son just sent me one, and oh my gosh, it's taking me forever just to get it set up. Oi, you have to be a computer technology person. But the first thing I want you to do, I say pictures, double take. I want to make sure that you've removed the pictures from your phone and put them on a jump drive or transferred them to a computer, something. Because in the old days you had photo albums. You could go to a drawer and pull out those pictures. Now there's a chance you could lose them. And it's the history of your family. It's like, I know my kids are like, nah, I don't care about photo albums. But you know, I think someday they will sit down and remember. Because when my boys were younger, I have a lot of pictures. And of course now they're digital, and everybody communicates on Facebook and shares pictures, but they don't get kept. And I think it's important for families to have the history of watching the kids grow up. So find a way to save those pictures. And phone numbers, just go to your phone, and I always tell everybody, take the phone book and go to the blank page and write down those 10 important phone numbers that in a pinch, if that phone died, save those 5 important numbers that you need. Not that somebody wouldn't call you and you'd eventually get the number back. But I think too many people have lost their an important number by having a phone get damaged. Okay, so enough about COVID. I want to give you all, I have all these like tips for the day. I like to give people tips for the day. And I want to remind you that once a week or something, you can always remember that a lot of the restaurants in town are doing takeout. This one particular list is South Siskiyou, but all of the, if you have a favorite place that you haven't been, you can get a takeout dinner and sit outside. Maybe a neighborhood, everybody could agree at 6 o'clock they're gonna all sit 6, you know, you could maybe everybody have their own dinner and sit outside in a neighborhood. Also in a neighborhood, you might think you've been in your house, you've now decided what things you don't need. You could do a street sale where the tables are out and you stand back and people could come along and just go through your neighborhood and buy that old chair or an exercise equipment that somebody's not using. So with your neighbors, be conscious of who might be a shut-in, be conscious who your elders are, and be conscious if other parents may need help with children. And we all need to help each other through these tough times because this is a new normal and it's going to go along. It's not over. It's not like summer's here, back to normal. We really need to realize that this is going to be until we get treatments that give people relief from the chest congestion and an immunization that may prevent some people from spreading it. There's already been some, what do you call it, where something, not morph is the wrong word, mutates. There's already been some diagnosis that the COVID virus is mutating. They've had children that have had skin and swelling on their feet. We've had people that have had strokes. So there's other aspects of this COVID-19 that doesn't just affect the pulmonary breathing, oxygen supporting for your life. You need oxygen and you need breath, and this virus just really does compromise your lungs. So now that you're home a lot, you may have accidentally run out of coffee filters. This is one of my tips for the day. Do not go use a paper towel. One time there was a paper towel that had threads in it. And I would run out of coffee filters and I would put that in and I wrote to the company and I said, yours is the best, it never breaks open. And they wrote back immediately and said, oh my gosh. When this paper was made, it still has soap in it. It doesn't go through a final rinse. So you may be noticing if you're using paper towels that you're making more trips to the bathroom if it's got soap in it. So I just want to remind you, it's really important. If you need a coffee filter, call your neighbor. Don't use a paper towel. Okay, so that was one thing I wanted to share with you. Also, a good stress reliever. I think a lot of people have found this already, and it may be too late to start a garden, but you could still go out and work in your yard and move things around. And I just want to remind you, even if you just grew herbs, you know, I've really enjoyed the newspaper. It's had different things that you can grow on a porch or on a patio that you can grow in a tub. You don't have to have a raised bed garden and acres of land. You can use anywhere that you have sunlight, and some things grow in the shade, but you can put cherry tomatoes, a pot of cherry tomatoes. And this time of year, I don't know if we have that farmer's market. Our farmer's market now has, they've spread out the booths. They only let one people in at a time. When you get to the booth, you have to stand 6 feet. So we still have farmers markets. And I found a wonderfully big cherry tomato because the other tomato plant I had wasn't doing so well from so many cold nights. So I got another plant that's already well on its way with blossoms. So you might consider going to your farmer's market and see what's still there and try growing something on your porch. And I know that you can get all this information off the internet, but I like to remind you that one of these pictures had the way everything is, you could grow like a whole garden. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm making so much noise. Outside your window. I don't know if you could see this. I thought this was a great picture where you could actually grow this pot. Would be all salads kind of right outside the window. So there's different ways that you can do a garden in containers. So I just want to remind you of that. And what was this one about? This was edible grow. Wait a minute, I want to share with you this newspaper. This was USA. I can't see what it say. Grow an edible garden right now. So I just want to encourage you. I know the nurseries have seen a lot of people coming and growing things. And you can imagine I have many scraps of paper. So then also I needed this because I need to know what the different weeds look like and know what to pull because when they're little. And I planted spinach and it came up. It was wonderful. And then I had chard and then I had a rabbit. So I was so very discouraged, or it could have possibly been a deer. So how did deer prove my garden? Because I lost some salad. And then my zucchinis were growing up big and beautiful. And one of them got eaten down to the... I said, what? I'm doing all this work. I tried to build... Oh, it is frustrating to deal with the animals. And I haven't found a way to share the garden and have enough for both of us. I'm not able to train them easily. Now, I don't know if you can see this picture, and I don't know if John, is there a way to kind of get that? This was different masked ideas. It was really done in humor, but it did have some different ideas of how to do a mask. And I have said before that if you don't have a mask, you know, I like to encourage people, you know, people are making them all over the place. I happen to like this one because I can hang it and I feel protected, but I can still breathe well. But also don't forget that you can always take a scarf and figure out a clever way to tie it up over your head. And I found that I could do that really quick when I forgot my mask. And that's why I'm recommending that everybody keep a mask in the car, and for ladies in your purse, for men maybe in a vest. I just want to remind you because it is something we can do. So we all need to know to limit the spread, we need to wear a mask. I keep reminding you just because it's a subliminal message. But we all need to get up and go and get up and do something. So I want to remind you to just get up and move. But social distancing, you know, we're trying to make this recovery happen. And right now the jobs number look good. But the reality is, a lot of those jobs were menial tasks, kind of. It's not like the big job market. A lot of people are working from home, but they still have reduced hours. They've been furloughed a bit. So it's not like the recovery, even though the administration is touting that there is a good jobs market. Now that there's such a crisis across the southern states, that job market's going to be affected again because we're going to have to close down some places. Some places are going to try and stay open, but communities that have like a meat packing plant, those people were made to go back to work. They didn't have a choice. Their unemployment would be cut off if they didn't go back to work. So some people were choose to take a chance on their life to go to work. And that's just discouraging. And the people were saying, well, I'm getting this extra money. I've been able to pay some bills, but I don't have enough. Well, that extra money is set to run out the end of July. Again, show those phone numbers in case somebody wants to call their congressman or their senator and tell them they need that money because they haven't been able to work and they have so many bills that it's got to keep the economy at least afloat, even if it doesn't really do a big rebound. So write those numbers down, 202-224-3121. And if you want to call direct to the president, you can. So I wanted to give you those numbers. And just remember that not only are you sanitizing your hands every day when you come in and washing your hands, it's like the first thing you should do when you've been out and about. If you've gone shopping, go straight to the kitchen or the bathroom and just wash off any COVID you might have brought in the house. But then be sure and wipe down your phone or the doorknob or your steering wheel. Like if you make yourself your own bottle of antiseptic, it's 2 parts alcohol and 1 part like aloe vera makes it a soothing. You can make your own, just buy a bottle of, make your own and make your own wipes, and you can wipe down your steering wheel and your doorknobs and everything. We need to hone our powers of observation and think of it like glitter. What could it have gotten on? And I'm thinking now, because they're talking about the virus drops to the ground, I'm thinking we need to think about taking our shoes off. And when we come home, we need to maybe leave our shoes at the door on the chance that they have some virus they've picked up somewhere. I don't want to give you examples of where I think they might have picked it up. But people will survive this. That's the reality. So the new normal means that we all will all be affected somehow. We're all going to know somebody. The other thing I wanted to mention to you today was that not only are the parks open and things where you can go, but you can take your family out and get fresh air and oxygen, whether or not it's just a walk around the yard. You know, you could just go up and around a block, and if these people are walking together. So think about this. That's like a pod of people. That's a family. So they all live together. We all have 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 people that's in our pod that we actually know that we're all being careful. And so we could walk without our mask, but it should be in our pocket in case we pass somebody. And of course, John, my text says, well, maybe they're on their own land and that's why they're not wearing it. But I do think we need to get out in the sun and get a little vitamin D to help our immune system. And, you know, Dr. Parker, I used to have Dr. Parker on my show. My show was called About Town. And I used to bring Dr. Parker on and I'd say, well, what about the swine flu? Or what about people with diabetes? Or, you know, I would talk to him about a different topic each month. And he used to tell me, I said, oh, I'm from Southern California. I love to get in the sun, but I'm nervous about skin cancer. And he said to me, if you don't burn, you know, if you're just getting 10 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you know, you're okay to get out in the sun. It's good for you. But if you're going to be out longer and you're going to burn, that's when it matters that you need to use a sunscreen. And that's when you should be concerned. Okay, so I also want to talk to you about the things that are being affected by this coronavirus is all the things that affect all of us, which is the economy and the people that are not working. We're all concerned about our IRAs. We're concerned about whether or not we're going to have enough money if we can't go back to work. I know there's so many people that are afraid, that have fear, and it's legitimate because it's the fear of the unknown. But one of the things we can all do is to be able to get back to work, to be able to open the economy. It's going to be a new normal. Things are going to be different. The airlines are going to be different, but I don't think people are going to have a lot of desire to fly. So people will be driving across country, or driving to a hike, or driving to take a picnic to a park. We need to be thinking about when you're on the road and you stop to get gas, just remember every keypad you touch, every door handle, we need to wash and wash and wash and wash. I know I can't say that too much. The doctors in New York say if you wash your hands and wear a mask, that we really can make a difference. So I'm always showing this picture just to give you the imprint of subliminal messaging. I know I'm going to be running out of time. There's a couple other things I want to talk to you about. I was saying that weight exercises are great for building muscle, but also for your mind is swimming with all these ideas. It's important to make a list. Sometimes you just need to write things down, and then you don't feel burdened carrying it around. So whether you have scraps of paper or a calendar or something, write things down. It might just give you a little bit of a mental relief. The stretching, it's important in the morning. Have you ever seen an animal when they stand up from sleeping, how they stretch? Cats get that beautiful stretch, and dogs as well. We all need to stretch when we get up in the morning. And I always say, find a corner in your house, a wall, and put your back up against it. You'll be surprised how much we're all leaning in. We're all leaning over. So I want to remind you to pull yourself up like a little marionette string and pull yourself up. You know, sometimes to put on the music, if there's a song you love, dance to it. Get the whole family to dance to it. Maybe practice line dancing out in your backyard or maybe the neighborhood could all do line dancing in their driveway. And, you know, one evening. I'm just trying to think of ways we have neighbors, and we're going to need neighbors through this crisis, whether to help us with elders or children or pets. You might need somebody, if you go back to work, somebody to let your dog out. So I wanted to have a show that I called Neighbors, Neighborly. We're not in this alone. We're all in a neighborhood or in an apartment house or a condominium or somewhere where we have neighbors. We just need to hone our powers of observation and make sure that if we help them, they'll help us. And the best thing we can do for everybody, and oh gosh, am I repetitive, is wear your mask. Okay, so I'm in the Siskiyou Media Council studio, which is at the Alvarado building by the kiosk up behind the college. And the College of the Siskiyous may be having more TV communication classes, I'm not sure. But students that are doing English and journalism, mostly all the students are doing things online now. And the teachers are having to come up with creative ways to shoot shows. So I want to invite you, if you're a homeschooler, you might want to get involved in public access, because you could use the studio to produce a show for your students. So think about that if you're involved in homeschooling, that you might want to get involved in public access. And we really need more producers to provide us with more content and to share things. I know my time's almost up, but if you've taken a trip, I really encourage you to share where you've been if you captured it on film with the shut-ins in the community. So think about figuring out a way to chain all your photos together with either music or a speaking dialogue and share it with us, because with public access, you can submit digital content to us. So look for us on the web. It's Siskiyou Media Council, SMC. Now, one of our websites comes up with red bars. And when you see that one, you can go to video on demand and watch many different shows that are being produced here. But I'd like to invite you to get involved. Come on down and sign up and join us here at Mountain Community Television, Wairika Community Television, all under the umbrella of Siskiyou Media Council. Therese Swenson, and let's see, the word for the day is gratitude. And if you put the word gratitude and take off GR, your gratitude will affect your attitude. Thanks. Bye.